Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I want to thank you for tuning in to Up Close and Personal with Angela, brought to you by Aspiring Authors Magazine. Today's guest is going to be Francis Dupree.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, I am Angela Thomas Smith. And for those that do not know who I am the founder of AALAC, the People African Author Leadership Awareness Campaign, bringing awareness to African American authors and leadership to the African American community. I'm also the founder of Aspiring Authors Magazine, where we are featuring authors from across the world, bringing awareness to the African American authors and literacy within the African American community. And we are taking on topics that are affecting our African American communities all over the world. Today, I have author Frances Dupree, and we're going to get up close and personal with her on today. So, Ms. Dupree, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
I can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
a little better. Yeah.
Okay. Let me adjust this. I got a new microphone I'm working with. Can you hear me now? Can you hear
Yeah,
me
it's a
now?
little better.
Okay.
Okay, now what did you say? I'm sorry.
Just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am a wife and a mother. I have 8 sons and I have one daughter. I'm a criminal justice major. My ultimate goal is to become an attorney. The injustice that the African American community, just males really in general, it really affects me. So my goal is to be a voice for those that are not able to be a voice for themselves. So I am finishing up my criminal justice bachelor's degree right now, and then the next step is law school. And as of April, I'm also an author of Marrying Outside of God's Will.
Wow, wow, wow. So, what inspired you to start writing?
Um, Well, November of 2018, I kept saying that I was going to write a book called Marrying Outside of God's Will. And to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why. And then I started writing it a few times after my divorce, but I was so angry and bitter that the way that I wrote it was not objectively. And then I got remarried and I have a daughter now. And I started writing again and I was able to be objective because, I'm at peace. I'm being loved the right way. Life is good. So I went on the prayer line with two friends of mine, and the prophet was telling me that I needed to stop starting and stopping writing the book. And I needed to be transparent, not to worry about what people would think. He said there were souls waiting for me to finish this book. So after that, I just sat and just wrote. Every free time that I had, I would just write until it was done. So that's how Marrying Outside of God's Will got started.
So, you just started writing in November?
Yes, of 2018.
Wow, wow. And is this your first book?
Yes.
Wow, wow. So, you said that you were going into criminal justice because of the injustice of you said your community.
Yeah, I believe that the African American community, and I said especially males, it's a lot of injustice going on. There's a lot of people sitting behind prison right now that are innocent. And we see a lot about people getting out of jail. They've served 30 years, 40 years, all these years of their life that's gone. And when you look into it, most of the time it's because they couldn't afford an attorney. They had a public defender.
You know what? I truly believe that God does not connect people with me for just any reason. It's not strange that I didn't really get a chance to do any research on you. Usually I research the people that I have on my show, just to have know a little bit about them.
Mm-hmm.
But my best friend, she's actually working on a project right now, behind the walls. Her thing is, her husband is incarcerated. I also have a friend that's incarcerated. And her thing is prison reform. I'm also helping her with that project. So I don't believe that it was a coincidence that, we connected. I don't even know how we connected, but I don't believe that it was a coincidence that we connected, because I did not know that about you.
Oh, wow. Yes.
I did not know that about you. I didn't. It's just amazing, in this season, God is connecting people that need to be
Mm-hmm.
connected to do the things that need to be done in the kingdom. And
Yeah.
I believe that that is truly something that needs to take place in the kingdom, because there are a lot of people that are incarcerated, even some people that made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
They may have made mistakes when they were younger, and the sentences that they given these people because of the mistakes. I mean, you get somebody life for drugs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It just does not make any sense to me. So I definitely really I want to connect with you after this interview, because I want to connect you with my friend, because I would love to have you on the project with us.
Most
We're getting ready
definitely.
we're also getting ready to release a magazine. I don't know if you are familiar with my magazine, but I have a magazine, Aspiring Authors Magazine. But
Yes, I've been seeing it.
I'm also a part of my friend. Her name is author Pamela J. She's getting ready to release a magazine. It's a vision of her husband, who's incarcerated, and she's getting ready to release a magazine in August. So I definitely want to connect with you and get you a part of that.
Oh,
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that after the show. I want to give the listeners an opportunity to learn a little bit about your book. And if there's anything else that you would like to share about you and your brand, I want you to take this opportunity to share that with the listeners.
So the brand that I have is God's Will's Ministry. And the whole vision behind that brand is to empower people. I motivationally speak on Tuesdays. I have what I call Transparent Tuesday, and I speak on different topics. I call them behind the scenes battles because it's topics that people don't usually like to discuss that they're battling with, such as depression or battling with suicide, domestic violence. I recently did one on failure as a parent because I feel like a lot of the mistakes that I made in life, it affected my children, and I did not pay attention to how they were being affected. And now that they're getting older, I can see how they were affected because of, the things that they dealt with when they grew up. So every Tuesday I do a different topic. This past Tuesday I just did, God will never give you more than you can bear, because with this pandemic going on, it's been difficult for a lot of people. A lot of things are closed and people are shut in. So that's the vision behind God's Will's Ministry. Now,
Okay.
Marrying Outside of God's Will, it's a memoir. So it's actual events of my life. I do not disclose the people's actual name. I made the names up, but I discuss my journey as trying to find myself, trying to find my relationship with God. And then at the time I was in a relationship for 12 and a half years. So I discussed the issues of that relationship, the toxicity of it, the domestic violence. I went through a lot of poverty and homelessness, and there were just a lot of different things that I battled with. And because of where I'm at right now in my life, I'm able to be transparent and to let people know that they're not the only one, that they shouldn't be ashamed of the things that they've gone through, because you have to have a test in order to have a testimony. So if
Exactly.
you go through anything in life, how can you tell the next person anything or try to motivate them in any type of way if you haven't been through anything yourself? And not just that, most of the time when you're ready to give up and you have that in the belly, bottom of the belly cry out to God, usually your miracle is right there where you can reach it. So it's like, just don't give up because it's right there. So that's the motivation behind the book and behind the ministry.
I definitely can relate, because a lot of the things that you just mentioned, I've dealt with myself. I just
Mhm.
celebrated 6 years of surviving a domestic violence incident where I was shot point blank range with a shotgun. So I
Wow.
definitely can relate to that. I've experienced homelessness. A lot of people, there's a lot of different phases of homelessness. And
Mhm.
I've been transparent in sharing my story because a lot of people, even in my family, did not know that I was homeless and that I slept in my car at certain points in my life. And I just am transparent just like you because there are a lot of people out here in this world that are hurting and going through things and have no one to turn to, don't know who to turn to,
Right.
and they need to hear somebody's story. So I thank God for this platform, and I always tell people that it's about more than books because I tell you, it's a ministry to me. And I take this opportunity to share the word of God, and all of my books. He has me working on these devotionals now. Like all of my books are here lately have been devotionals or journals, and it's to inspire people. I did one called Queen I Am, Discovering the Queen in Me. And basically, it's just trying to get women to discover who they are and loving themselves and knowing that there's a queen deep down inside of you, whether you think you're worthy or not. You are worthy because God say you are.
Right.
So I thank you. I thank you for your ministry. I thank you for what you're doing. I definitely thank you for coming on today and
Thank
sharing, because
you.
I know that even if someone is not listening right now, that when they hear this replay, that I pray that it bless them and touch them. So I want you to just share. Do you have your book with you?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Share with the listeners just a little insert, or either just the back cover. Just read something for them.
Okay. So on the back cover, it says Frances Dupree is a 32-year-old new author. She is a wife, a mother, and a woman that loves God. She has learned that her truth is worth telling to save souls. Throughout disobedience, she exposed herself to the dangers of domestic violence, depression, suicide, poverty, and physical and mental abuse. But God never took his hands off of her life, and he has blessed her later years better than her past. And then it says a story about the dangerous heights of looking for love in all the wrong places and the soul ties that are broken when God's love, forgiveness, and mercy overpowers the plan of the enemy.
Wow, wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. How did you come up with the title of your book?
Um, I married outside of God's will. When it was a whole situation in regards to me getting married the first time, and I prayed about it, and God told me not to marry him. And my whole thing was the title. Well, he's ready to get married. I've been through all of these things and I deserve that title, which, yeah, I deserve the title of being wife, but I didn't deserve to be his wife. And that's where I was outside of God's will because I didn't listen. And due to that, the 4 years of the marriage was just a disaster. And
Really?
I opened myself up to all the dangers of being outside of God's will. But God is so good and so gracious and so merciful throughout the whole situation. He still gave me grace. He still gave me favor. He never took his hands off of me. And then, when the time came, he gave me the strength that I needed to leave the situation. And, when you're in a situation for so long, it goes both ways. There were times that I was an aggressor and he was a victim, or I was the victim and he was the aggressor. Like it was just so much stuff going on. The enemy had so much room to just roam and just destroy and divide like his job is supposed to be. And that's
Yeah.
all out of disobedience.
Yep. And we all fall prey to that sometimes. I'm a witness to that because I felt like I did the same thing. I was just wanting to get married, thinking that if I got married, then I wouldn't be sinning. That was
Mhm.
my big thing. I mean, that was one of my problems. And I thank God that even through my marriage, that He showed me some things. I'm not married right now, but He showed me some things about myself. So, what is some advice you would give someone that's listening today about writing and writing that story and getting that story out? Because a lot of us, people tell us all the time that they want to start, they want to write, they want
Mhm.
to be an author, they have a story to share, but they don't know where to start or how to start.
Can you share with the
I would
listeners?
say just get the thoughts on the paper. Like when I started writing, I was doing it on my phone. I have a Google Docs on my phone. So I just started writing. I didn't format it. I didn't edit it. I didn't worry about the punctuation or grammar or any of that. I literally just started writing. And when I sent it to the editor, it was just long, just writing. And she had to go in and edit and, you know, the grammar and break it down into paragraphs and all of those things. But my main thing was getting it down on the paper because there were some things that are in the book that I had threw away in the closet. And because of the message that God is trying to get across, he brought them back to my memory. So as things were coming back in my memory, I just started, okay, I got to put this down so I don't forget. I got to write this down. So my main thing is just get the thoughts on the paper. Everything else you can go back and you can edit and you can revise it and fix it and take away and add the way that you want to. But the most important thing is getting it down. Because once you get it down, you just create from there.
So what is your typical writing day like?
3:00 in the morning. 3:00 in the morning in my bed with a soda and my cell phone, just typing away. That's how I was writing.
So what do you do when you have writer's block? Because I know a lot of people say they run into writer's block sometimes. I have 13 books, and I think I may have ran into writer's block. But I do a lot of collaboration projects because I believe in helping other people get their stories out. So I do a lot of collaboration projects. And I think I've only ran into writer's block one time, and that was when I was really touching on a subject that I was really not familiar with, really not concerned about, and it kind of threw me off. So I had to step away and like just leave it and then go back to it. So what do you do when you get writer's block?
So I only got writer's block while writing my book, maybe once or twice. And that was when I was dealing with something that I had put in the closet and I had to bring it out. So I wasn't prepared. And I had to just walk away for a second and pray about it and be like, okay, God, are you sure you really want me to put this in this book? Because I wasn't comfortable doing it. And then I just, went on about my day. And then later on that night, I went back to writing. So I just had to take a mental break and mentally deal with what I was trying to say and how to say it in the right way. Because to me, that's important. That was my whole thing about my book is I didn't want my book to look like I was trying to attack anybody or come for anybody's character. So I wanted to make sure everything that I wrote it objectively. So that's what I had to do is just take a mental break, breathe, pray, go on about the day of other things and then come back to it.
So are you on social media? I know that you're on Facebook, but are you on any other social media? How can the listeners and those that are viewing get in contact with you?
So I'm on Facebook as Frances Dupree. I have a Instagram. Well, actually, I have two Instagrams account. One Instagram is Simply Blessed 8 because during that point in my life, I had 8 sons. And now I have another Instagram account and it's called Miss 9 the Hard Way. I have a daughter now, so I have 9 kids all together. Wow. And then I have a Twitter, which is at Miss Lady Dupree. And I also have a Snapchat, which is at Miss Lady Dupree.
Wow.
Or
so
listeners,
how can they get your book?
The book, I sell autographed copies for $25, which I can be paid by Zelle, Cash App, or PayPal. But the book, the ebook, if anyone has an Apple product, the ebook can be purchased on the Apple bookstore. And then the paperback and the ebook is on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, IndieBound, and Walmart.
Okay. Do you have a website?
Yes. It's www.gods-will-ministries.com.
So I have one more. I have a couple more questions, but one question I want to ask you. So how did you deal with the emotional impact of your book when you was writing it?
I took a lot of walks. I played with my children more. I had more conversations with my husband, and I prayed a lot because there's some things, like I said, that I had to pull out the closet to deal with. And mentally, it was a lot because I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to let the world know these things. Like, in a way, it's kind of embarrassing, but then at the same time, it's kind of like I had to learn not to be ashamed of my past because I went through it for a reason. So that's how I dealt with it.
I always tell people that, God placed us here with a purpose. He tells us that Jeremiah 29:11 that he had a plan for us to prosper us, to be in good health, for us to have hope in the future. So, I used to wonder and I used to question God, why did I have to go through this? And then now as I look back on my life, why not? Because if I
Right.
had gone through those things, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. So, sometimes we don't understand why we're going through what we're going through, because God gives us free will and we make choices. And sometimes we choose the wrong choice and we have to suffer the consequences for the choices that we choose. So
Absolutely
I
correct.
want you to share, I want you to share something inspirational with the listeners. So share something that may encourage them on today.
Um, I'm a walking, living testimony that there's life after. No matter the mistakes that you've made or whatever that you've been through that you feel is something to be embarrassed of, or a mistake that you made after, there's still life after. There's still blessings after. God can still use you. That's the whole point, is we have to go through things in order for him to use us. So don't be ashamed. Don't feel like, why did I go through this? Why have life like this? Now in life, I'm able to say, you know what? I'm glad all that stuff happened. It was necessary for my purpose, for the plan that God has for me, and for me to have the life that I have now. I'm remarried, and because of the hurt, the pain, and all the things that I went through, I appreciate my husband and I love him and he's my king and our relationship is totally awesome. But I don't know if it would have been that way if I didn't go through what I did.
Amen. And I often tell people that sometimes your pain pushes you into your purpose. If you're
That's
not
so
going through
true.
that pain, if you're not going through that, then you may not be where you are today. So I thank
Mhm.
God for my trials and my tribulations. Even though I've been through a lot, I thank him for it because I definitely would not be the person that I am today if I had not gone through those things.
Right. I think it helps build your character. It
It,
defines you. And, it helps you grow as a person. And you know how they say in Job that God blesses your later years better than your former? Well,
mhm.
formerly he had to grow you. It's like you're a diamond and he's trying to perfect you and you have to, crack a little and he has to define that shape. But he can't do that if there's nothing to fix. Like I always tell people, if there's nothing in your life, no mistakes, no lessons, where does God come in? Where does the testimony come in? Where can you say God did this or God did that, or let me tell you about this miracle, or there's nothing to say. So it's all necessary. It's a purpose. And then I tell people to feel blessed because he trusted you to go through what you went through in order
Yes,
to help the next person. So that in
yes,
itself is a compliment. You were trusted with an assignment and you executed it. Everybody's thing is different, but it's executed the right way because now you're shining and you're able to go back and share it and help somebody else and, save a soul or give a testimony or let somebody know, don't give up. I've been through, not because everybody's journey is different. Some situations are similar and some you're going through exactly what that person went through. So because you went through it already, you can tell them, hey, look, there's an after. There's an
yes.
after. Don't give up. You can't see it right now because we're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight. But there's an after. I'm living proof. There's an after. So just focus on your after.
Amen. Amen. Well, I definitely want to thank you for sacrificing your time to come on and being transparent in your book and sharing yourself so that others can be blessed because I truly believe that your book is going to bless many, many, many.
Thank
Um,
you.
I just want to tell you if there's anything that AALAC or Aspiring Authors Magazine can do to assist you on your journey, please feel free to reach out to me. I am always on Facebook. I may not be visible, but I am available. That's what I
Thank
tell
you
people.
so
I'm not
much.
always visible, but I'm
Mhm.
available. I always share my business line. It's 803-757-6090. If you want to reach out to me, you can always direct message me. Again, I thank you. I thank you so much for coming on today and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you're doing. I definitely want to connect with you because I definitely want to put you in contact with my friend Pamela
Oh,
J.
yes, most definitely. I
Because
would be
we could
honored.
definitely use you on the platform behind the walls. I definitely think we could use you. Again, I just want to thank you for coming on and yet being transparent and sharing with the listeners. Is there anything that you would like to leave with them before we leave?
No, I think I covered it all. Just, don't give up is the main thing. And, know that you're not the only one. It's other people that are battling with, like I say, the behind the scenes battles. And just know that you're not alone and that it's okay. It happens. It's a part of life. God says that what we face is not unknown to man. So it's happened to those before us. We're going through it, and people after us is probably going to go through it too.
Exactly.
So that's where the whole he's not going to give us more than we can bear comes in. So just know that you're not alone, that it's necessary, and not to give up.
Amen. Amen. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Let me see. I see some comments coming up. Let me see if somebody had any questions that they wanted to ask. No, they was just commenting. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We have been up close and personal with author Frances Dupree. You can follow her on Facebook. You can follow her on Instagram. If you did not get where you can reach her at, I will be posting her information under this replay for those that would like to connect with her or to purchase her book. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You have been tuned in to Up Close and Personal with Angela on behalf of Aspiring Authors Magazine. I am Angela Thomas Smith, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all have a great day, and thank you again, sweetie.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Bye.